Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, March 4, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here where the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the that's been like in your year recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the U.S. Climate Prediction Center is showing on their Global Tropics Hazards Outlook for the time period from March 12 to March 18, as well as from March 19 to March 25. And we can see Jamaica right here, not getting that much of anything at all for the time period from March 12 to March 18. So it's definitely going to be normal March-like conditions in general. But by the following week, March 19 to March 25, we start to see some light shades of greens popping up, extending from the eastern and central Pacific all the way over into northern South America, portion of Central America, Jamaica, Hispaniola, all the way into the eastern Caribbean. And we know these light shades of greens represent what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the above normal or above average rainfall probability, just a 50% chance at that. We'll see exactly what unfolds as time goes on, because we know that what the U.S. Climate Prediction Center usually posts is not set in stone, so we have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt. Either way, this is what the latest one is showing that came out today on March 4 from the forecaster Saharan. Taking a look at the rainfall forecast maps here from the year and the GFS models that came out today. As usual, we're going to be going out to the next 168 hours. That's the next 7 days. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top, as we also focus our attention on Jamaica right here and look for what we see here on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Wednesday morning, we can see some amount of isolated shower activity to the north of the island. We also see a long line of showers associated with the frontal system across the eastern US, extending down to the Gulf. We see another system right here to the north of the eastern Caribbean. Some of the moisture extending all the way down to portions of the Leeward Islands for sure. Then as we head into Wednesday afternoon, we see that moisture across portions of Jamaica. Heading into early Thursday morning, what do we see? Not much of anything on land, maybe some isolated shores here and there to the north and east of us. But it's by afternoon now that we start to see some of that rainfall across sections of some central and eastern parishes. Then as we head into Friday, we see some moisture extending from the north of the island all the way over into portions of Hispaniola, all the way up into the northern portion of North Atlantic associated with a possible frontal system. We'll see how that goes. Either way, by the end of the day on Friday, we see that the moisture should be extended across eastern, central, and western parishes. Let's head into Saturday. What do we see for the morning? Not much of anything, but in the afternoon we see some isolated shores across eastern parishes, western parishes as well, getting in on some of the action too. Sunday, not seeing much of anything in the morning on land, but we do see some isolated shores to the south of us across maybe the far eastern end. Then by Sunday afternoon, we see that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. Monday morning, what do we see? Not much of anything, but we see that near the afternoon we see some isolated shores across the northern and western end. We also see a long line of shores associated with a possible frontal system off the east coast of the US down into portions of Florida, the eastern Gulf, all the way down into portions of Central America. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for 12Z on Tuesday, March 11, 2025. 12Z, as we know, is about 7 a.m. And look at all of the moisture associated with that possible frontal system, extending from the waters to the northeast of the Bahamas, all the way down into the Bahamas, central Cuba, the Cayman Islands, all the way down into portion of Central America. And we see an area of low pressure attached to the system right here of the east coast of Florida. A very interesting forecast. Let us match this latest Euro model to the latest GFS to see if we have some agreement on both models. So as we head into Wednesday morning, not seeing much of anything. We do see the rainfall, however, across section of the eastern US extending down to the Gulf, associated with the possible frontal system that we highlighted. We see some isolated showers across the northeastern section of the island. And then by around Wednesday afternoon, 0Z on Thursday, as we know, is about 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And look at what we're seeing. Some isolated afternoon rainfall maybe across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting forecast. Thursday morning, not much of anything, but Thursday afternoon, we see some isolated showers across the south, central, and southeastern portion of the island. Friday morning, maybe some isolated showers across the northeastern end. Friday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers across eastern, central, and western parishes. Nothing too significant like what we had last week. This week, definitely drier than last week in general. Saturday morning, not much of anything. Maybe some isolated showers on Saturday afternoon. Nothing too significant. Sunday morning, not much of anything. Sunday afternoon, not seeing much of anything either on the GFS in comparison with the Euro. The Monday morning GFS right here, showing some rainfall to the north of us. Let's see what the afternoon is showing. Maybe some isolated showers across the western end. Tuesday, what do we see? Not much of anything on land, but we do see some isolated shores surrounding the island. Then at around 18Z on Tuesday, which is actually 1 p.m. Not seeing much of anything on land, but we see some isolated shores to the east of the island. And we actually see some amount of consensus and some differences regarding the system that we mentioned right here to the east of Florida. Don't see it as robust with the area of low pressure on the GFS like what we saw here on the Euro, but we do see the moisture associated with it across portion of the Bahamas, especially to the northeast of the Bahamas. Some of the moisture extending down to portion of the Cayman Islands and Central America, something almost similar to what the Euro was showing. Either way, in terms of the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps from both the Euro and the GFS, showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Tuesday, March 11, we can clearly see that the most rainfall over the next 7 days should still be plaguing portions of northern South America, including sections of eastern Panama, sections of Colombia, sections of western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, and even the waters to the north of the eastern Caribbean. We know that because those areas are shaded in the dark reds, the purples, and the pinks, that represents 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, as well as 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. So those areas could get in some amount of isolated flash flooding for sure. And we clearly see that it's not only the GFS that's showing this, but even the Euro model run showing the same thing. And we also see the greens into the yellows, oranges, and slight reds that represents anywhere from 0.2 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 0.5, all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall expected for areas such as Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Martin, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, sections of Cuba, the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the Yucatan Peninsula, the eastern portions of that, section of Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, section of eastern Nicaragua, southern Costa Rica as well. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with that forecast. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances for it to happen are even higher. And if we take a closer look at Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, we see the blues across the eastern end to the western end. We also see the slight greens in there as well, even as far as the slight yellows too. Clearly the Euro is a bit more robust than the GFS, going all the way from the 5mm range all the way up to into the 31mm range right here, as we can see across sections of the east. the GFS right here showing more blues, so anywhere from 5 to maybe 15 millimeters of rainfall. We see the most rainfall out to sea to the north of Portland, at least 16 millimeters. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with exactly what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here to the east of the US, another ridge of high pressure right here to the northwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and we see a frontal system right here as represented by the blue spike line extending all the way down into portion of the Bahamas, where it has induced a trough into that area. And we know the ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out the entities that we just saw on the surface map. The clouds associated with the frontal system stretching all the way from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to portions of the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, with the trough that has induced in the area. We also see the low level flow of the winds being pushing the low level and mid level clouds from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure that is to the north. And we know some of these low to mid level clouds definitely have some moisture within them. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, March 4, 2025. It was stated that would have gotten some amount of morning rainfall across sections of some northeastern parishes in Jamaica, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes on Tuesday afternoon. And in the northeastern parishes, we're basically talking about Portland, especially section of St. Mary, maybe even as far as St. Anne, getting in on some of the action. That was what is expected for the morning. Then for the afternoon, it would have been mainly these areas, central parishes. We're talking about those parishes like those ones in Middlesex, St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 4:30 a.m., the Cuban Doppler radar images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the .Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as we may post throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. Posts that are not made here on our YouTube platforms sometimes. So we see the Cuban Doppler radar image right here showing that rainfall that we got at around 4:30 a.m. Look at the greens into the yellows coming into portions of Portland, section of St. Mary, St. Anne for sure, just like what was predicted. And we see the greens into the yellows on the key on the right that we know represents Moderado and Fuerte. Moderado is moderate rainfall, Fuerte is stronger heavy rainfall, so we definitely got some of that this morning. Then by around 1:16 p.m. the visible satellite image was posted as well, and it highlighted the clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to sections of St. Anne. We also had that activity across sections of St. Andrew, sections of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, sections of Westmoreland and Hanover might have gotten on some of the action too. Then by around 5:15 p.m. the visible satellite images were posted, and it even highlighted the sparkling yellow dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, to indicate that we got some thunderstorm activity across sections of Manchester and St. Elizabeth before all was said and done with the day. And we were still getting on some amount of overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, across sections of northern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, southern St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and even sections of St. Elizabeth. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images right here, before we lost the sunlight, we can make out the low-level clouds to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west, and we also make out the upper-level clouds being steered from northwest to southeast and from west to east, just like what we mentioned it would have been doing in yesterday's video. And if we take a look at the infrared close-up satellite images right here, we can make out what was taking place in terms of these upper level clouds, the convection burst that we had across sections of St. Elizabeth and Manchester right there. We see the sparkling white dots that we know represent some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. If you reside in St. Elizabeth or Manchester and you got in on the thunderstorm activity, let me know in the comments down below. But you can see it here, and we see the upper level wind shear blowing those high cold cloud tops off towards the east, some of it towards the southeast for sure. That was definitely what would have been predicted that would have happened today. And if we take a look at the crossroads scan from See Jamaica's YouTube channel at around 2:11 p.m. right here, we can see that it was definitely sunny in the corporate area. People walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather took place at all today. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, from Crossroads to Halfway Tree, the panoramic city view, even the flat bridge in St. Catherine. And they are planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. That is See Jamaica right here. Alright, taking a look at some of the comments that came in to confirm what the weather was like in some of our followers' area. We have Drenerge.1230. Titing Porty got a short spit. Thank you very much for confirming what you got today. We also have O.K stating rain as predicted. Thanks for confirming. Wish I knew the parish. We have Poison Honey. Me close them wet up. Well, thanks for letting me know that as well. So it was at least 3 comments, and we're indeed grateful here that you guys confirm what the weather was like in your area. But let us reload the latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website. Let us see what's happening across the island right now. And the latest still image is showing 0005 UTC. So another one is supposed to actually come out in about a minute. Let me see if I can reload it and get the very latest image. Alright, there we go. So it's 0015 now. UTC says updated. And what do we see? By the way, first of all, 0015 UTC is about 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 7 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:22 p.m. now. And we can see the milky whitish shades representing some amount of clouds across more so the western half of the island, or the left side of the island. We also see some of it across section of St. Catherine. So who knows, maybe we're receiving, if not some overcast skies across these areas, maybe some isolated showers, and we're referring to sections of St. Catherine, maybe spilling into sections of eastern Clarendon. We also see some of the clouds across sections of Trelawney, sections of St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and sections of St. Elizabeth right there. Let me know. And you see the stars, and you see the moon. Let me know if you're getting isolated showers in those areas. Unfortunately, it looks like the Cuban Doppler radar glitched out. Been trying to load it for the longest while, and all I'm seeing is 5:10 p.m. So it might have glitched out about 2 hours ago, considering that it's almost 7:30 p.m. now. But at that time, we can clearly see that we're getting in some isolated shores across sections of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland, with these greens moving about, even the yellows in there. Some of you guys might be wondering, but whether Jamaica, I see greens and yellows across the north coast, even in the east, and we're not getting rain now. But that's not rainfall. That is just a glitch on the Cuban Doppler radar called ground clutter. So don't be fooled. The actual rainfall moves with the clouds, so we have to match these latest satellite images to the Doppler radar in order to get the most accurate info. And as stated, it's still showing 5:10 p.m. It should be showing what, 7:20 now, but it's not. Taking a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery. Let's reload this so that we have the very latest. Can't make out anything across eastern Jamaica, but we do see some isolated shores across the western peninsula of Haiti, across portions of the eastern sections of Cuba in and around Guantanamo. Taking a look at the Cayman radar. Let's just reload this so that we have the very latest to show to. What do we see? We see some isolated shores right here to the southeast of the Cayman Islands right here. Nothing significant, just some isolated brief showers pushing in from the east and pushing towards the west. Taking a look at what's happening right now, according to the live camera here showing Flatbridge in St. Catherine, we can see people in their vehicles going about their business. Definitely dry conditions being experienced as we speak, and we see people in their vehicles going about over the very chill, very calm Rio Cobra for the time being. It's the dry season, so it is expected. Maybe when we start to get some serious rainfall, then we're for sure to see the Rio Cobra possibly in spate and rushing, even getting up to the level of the road. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have up to at least 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, or that's where it's supposed to be getting as the evening progresses. We also have the temperatures getting down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, as well as 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston at around 4 a.m. on Wednesday. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for AT&Z on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors. That represents up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, like what we see here on the key on the right. And we know the normal temperature for the month of March across the islands are around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 32.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Wednesday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here to highlight from my JPS Online's Twitter page. I know that we have to highlight these because we know that when the power goes out, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way. On Tuesday, March, well, I shouldn't be saying Tuesday, I should be seeing all of Wednesday. Is there really only one Wednesday that I could have found on this page? Let me see. Seeing Thursday again. I saw Thursday, just like how we had a lot of Tuesdays yesterday. Yeah, I'm only seeing one Wednesday, so that's a good thing. The holidays looks like they're getting a break, the workers that is. But unfortunately, this one era, we're talking about Cottage to Little London in Westmoreland from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Unfortunately, your holiday is gonna be a bit, distorted. Either way, we have some tips right here to beat the heat if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you. As usual, it states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh, try eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep, and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. Keep hydrated, drink lots of water throughout the day even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and what's within those reds. And we can see an abundance of dry air extending from the eastern portion of the Atlantic to the western portion of the Atlantic. I know the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. And we see an abundance of dry air across the main development region. We see an abundance of dry air across the southern Gulf right here. We also see the low end of the scale in terms of dry air in the yellows across the portion of the Caribbean, which explains some of these low-level clouds that we saw on the visible satellite images being steered from east to west. Some of these clouds definitely have some moisture within them, which explains why it has been so wet in some spots. And we also see the abundance of moist air as represented by the blues across section of the eastern Pacific to the south of Panama and Costa Rica to the west of Colombia, as well as to the east of Brazil and to the southwest of West Africa associated with the intertropical convergent zone. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast, we see that there's not much of anything to see in terms of Saharan dust for 8 a.m. on Wednesday, because all the browns that represent Saharan dust should be across the southern portion of the main development region, and it's not even that robust at all. We know the robust plume is represented by the dark shades of browns that we know means very hazy skies that can trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons, like asthma or sinusitis. And we're indeed glad that we're not seeing any of that across North America, the Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, or Central America for 8 a.m. on Wednesday. But regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're still seeing the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues that we can see That represents 0.5 of a meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave heights, anywhere from the eastern to the central to the western Caribbean Sea into the northwestern Caribbean, section of the Bahamas, section of the southern and eastern Gulf. While we have more purples across the northern Gulf, off the east coast of Florida, off the eastern portion of the Bahamas, to the north of the eastern Caribbean and to the east of the eastern Caribbean islands. That we know the purples into the pinks represents anywhere from 2 to 3 meter wave heights, and that's because of the winds that are expected. We see the bright greens into the slight yellows that represents anywhere from 20 to 25 knots expected right here to the east of the Caribbean, across the Bahamas, across the northern Gulf, and we have some dull greens that represents anywhere maybe from 5 to 10 knots, maybe even gusting to 15 knots across portions of the other areas that have the other low wave heights. And if you take a look at Jamaica's wind forecast for tomorrow, we can clearly see that the winds should be coming in from the east for the most part, up to 8 knots on the north coast, up to 9 knots on the south coast. And with those low winds in general, definitely going to be feeling hotter, and it's definitely going to be causing up to 0.9 of a meter wave height on the north coast and up to at least 0.9 of a meter wave height on the south coast in some spots for sure. Taking a look at the actual upper level wind shear forecast, wind still coming in from the west, so if we get some more convection like what we had today, we might get those high cold cloud tops in the blues, greens, yellows, oranges being pushed out towards the east. We'll see how it actually goes. Either way, in terms of the actual rainfall forecast maps, didn't see much of anything across the island in the morning in terms of rainfall, but it's by afternoon that we start to see the blues represent rainfall across not only eastern, central and western parishes on the Euro, but eastern, central and western parishes on the GFS. This is around 4 p.m. A very interesting afternoon forecast, and we see that it's more so across inland areas. So it's going to be like northern St. Andrews, southern St. Mary, southern St. Anne, northern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, northern Manchester, southern Trelawney, southern St. James, northern St. Elizabeth. That's where most of the rainfall could be expected. We'll see how it actually goes. Either way, both the accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing that it's going to be raining somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. The Euro right here going all the way up to at least 0.727 of an inch of rainfall. The GFS going up to at least 0.34 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And whatever occurs, we'll definitely take it, because we're in the month of March. We're in the month that is the driest across the island of Jamaica. In Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for March in general, for total. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculation to yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west across portion of the Caribbean. The frontal system definitely brings some overcast skies, if not some rainfall, to section of the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, sections of the southern US as we speak. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening right now. Some isolated shores across northwestern Puerto Rico, across northeastern Puerto Rico, the waters to the west of the US Virgin Islands, the waters to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe getting on some of the action as we speak. Noting these images from earlier today, we can see that portions of eastern, central, western Puerto Rico definitely got on some moderate, some slightly heavy rainfall. Not seeing much of anything across Barbados right now, but we do see some isolated shower bands pushing in from the east. Maybe they're already affecting Barbados as we speak. If not later on tonight, we see some rain bands to the west of Barbados heading towards St. Vincent and the Grenadines, heading towards St. Lucia, Martinique, maybe Dominica getting into some of the isolated shore later on. We see some rain bands to the east of Tobago, maybe some of that could reach Trinidad too. Taking a look at the weather view of Doppler radar images, not seeing much of anything, but we can clearly see that within the next 24 hours. Both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing that the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be plaguing sections of Colombia, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, anywhere from St. Vincent and the Grenadines northward, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Eastern Cuba, section of the Bahamas, sections of Cuba in general. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with those forecasts. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.